How do you handle fans that cross lines? I came across this problem last night. Someone wanted to meet up and mentioned meeting my family. I don't know this person. They're a fan. I know this is something not unexpected as you grow bigger on social media, but this is a first. Wow, do I have a lot of experience with this? Because the more you grow, the more people will start to cross lines, and you're going to see that a lot. If they get into the realm where they have scouted out your family and they know things about you that you're not comfortable with, hard block. Protect your family. End of discussion. I don't care how innocent they meant it. If you feel uncomfortable with something, if they have gone too far and looked into your family, they know where you live, all these things, this is a potentially dangerous situation. We are not taking any of that. Immediate block. Do not stand for that. Now, if you think that maybe it really truly is like an innocent thing and you're really not worried about this person and you just need them to back up a little bit, have that conversation with them privately. Try to let them know, please don't say these things or please don't do these things publicly. If you have questions or comments or whatever, you can come to me privately, but please don't do these things publicly. I have had fans figure out things like my first name, and they actively use it when they see me on live streams, and they like try to kind of use it as a leverage against me to say, oh, I'm a better fan than your other fans because I know your first name. That's not okay. And so I need to back them up. I'll go and talk to them and say, hey, you can't do this. This is not working. This is not going to be okay. And if I have to block them, I have to block them. There's also restrict buttons on things like Instagram, so they can still like follow you, but not engage with you. So there's a lot of things that you can be doing. But you need to set your boundaries right now. If you have not already set boundaries inside of your business for what is and is not acceptable for fan behavior, stop what you're doing and do that today. That needs to be something you understand wholly and completely, what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. So when these things come up, you know exactly and decisively how to respond to it. Is it going to be pushing them back? Is it going to be having a conversation with them? Is it going to be blocking them? Is it going to be reporting them? What's okay with you and what's not okay with you? We know that fans love to feel familiar with us, and they feel like they have this really great personal connection because they see us on live streams and because they interact with us online and because we have conversations with them. It's real easy for them to forget we don't know them. I've had people at book signings and different conventions that I'm speaking at see me across the room, scream, run across the room, and then throw their arms around me, not knowing whether or not I'm okay with being hugged or okay with being touched. And it can be a very aggressive thing if you don't know it's coming. I am somebody who's used to people throwing their arms around me and touching me and all sorts of things. And so it's not as scary for me, but that can be really intimidating for some people. So you have to make sure that you know what you're okay with and communicate that clearly to people, especially people who forget that they don't know you the way that they think they do because they think they have this really strong connection, because we do in a social sense, but not in the, like, I'm going to recognize you sense. Like I said, I had somebody run up to me at a book convention one time, screamed, ran across the room, threw her arms around me, nearly fainted. It was a thing. She never introduced herself. She acted like I should know her because she saw me on social media. I don't think she had conversations with me. I don't know. I didn't recognize her. There was no follow-up. I have no clue who this person was many years later. But they thought that I should just because they lurked on my social media. That is what I think. I think it was a lurker. I don't think it was somebody that actually actively talked to me. And so we can ask questions. We can kind of show that there are some boundaries there. Keeping physical boundaries when you're in a physical location with somebody is good. If you can keep a table between you, that's definitely going to help. But if somebody's getting into your space, if they're looking at your personal life, if they're trying to friend you and you're not actually friends with them, it's okay to establish those boundaries. You're not a bad person for doing it. You're not doing anything wrong. You need to protect your personal, emotional, and physical well-being first, and the well-being of your family. If anybody is coming near your children, done. Handle that. That is not something we're going to allow to continue, because when other people start to see people interacting like that, if we don't acknowledge it or we don't deal with it, it could get worse. Now, of course, there are potentially really scary situations where you can be in a bad situation. I have been stalked before, of like authorities involved, stalked twice before. I have had people put their hands on me at conventions and places I was speaking at, to the point where security had to stand next to me for a day and a half of a 2-day convention. Like, a lot of things can happen and it can progressively get worse. So if you feel like people are making you uncomfortable, stop responding. There are a lot of people in my DMs who will come and ask questions and it'll be fine. And then the conversation will switch. It'll become about the way that I look, or it'll be asking where I live and things that make me uncomfortable. The second I see something that's uncomfortable, I will stop communicating with that person. I actually have it down to a science, the way that men interacted with me in my DMs based on their age. Men in their 20s act one way with me, and men in their above their 30s act another way with me. And the specific science of when they change the conversation and then when they come back to change the conversation, I can tell you down to an hour window, because I've seen it over and over again. So when we have conversations that's on topic, business related, good, not a problem. That's fine. Go with that. The second it turns to where do you live, or what are you doing, or, things that are a little too personal, stop communicating. Don't respond. I love to go into these DMs when men switch it and they want to know where I live. I will not respond to that question. I will not respond to that. And so I will go in so that they can see I saw it and I actively chose not to respond to it. Usually they get the idea. Some of them will get a little aggressive, like I was just asking a question. Some of them will apologize and some of them will just let it go. But you have to understand your boundaries. We are not giving attention to people who should not have our attention, and you do need to protect yourself. So you're not mean. It's not a problem. And you know what? If they don't like it, they're just going to go badmouth it and sell themselves out. They will be very, very clear publicly what they did to elicit that response from you. But again, when it comes down to your children, I'll go to war for you. What do you need? I'll take care of this. Go to war for your kids. That's okay. I give you full permission to do that. But I know it can be a really scary thing. So you just have to take precautions. Make sure you're not, telling people where you are. Especially if you have children and you're out and about, don't post that right then and there. Post it once you get home. If you're on vacation and you're doing things, maybe don't post it while you're at that location or that venue or that hotel or whatever. If you watch influencers, a lot of us will not tell you where we are until we've already left. Yes, we want to tell you about the hotel we stayed at, the really cool things. Maybe we'll even show you some of it, but we're not going to tell you the exact location until we are no longer in that location. Because a lot of us have dealt with stalkers. A lot of us have dealt with people traveling to meet us to be weird or inappropriate or not, or like whatever. We've seen these things and we've seen them get scary, and we know that they can get scarier. So it's important to protect your locations. It's important to protect what you're doing. You don't have to give away information the moment that you're doing it if it could potentially put your safety at risk. So study. Really, really study how people handle things like stalkers and behavioral stuff, and just understand psychology, understand how to defend yourself if you're going to be in a situation where it could be in a physical proximity to somebody. Understand how to take care of yourself on that physical level. Self-defense is really important. You need to know how to do this whether or not you like it. I don't care. You need to learn to protect yourself and to protect people around you. You need to have the basics there. You need to understand how to respond to people. You need to understand when to call for help. You need to understand when to bring in people to situations. If you're feeling like there's a situation you're not sure of, get other people's opinions. Take screenshots, keep evidence, get those receipts, babies, in case you need them later on. If you at any point feel uncomfortable with anything, just take a screenshot of it. Maybe it's nothing, but maybe you'll need it later. So make sure you're documenting everything. You're tracking everything. If you start to see somebody kind of creeping into your space again and again and making you feel uncomfortable, document it on a calendar with documentation of like screenshots, write things down, have a list. You know the drill when it comes to this. You have to be proactive in your own safety for this, whether you're online or in person or something that could move from online to in person. All these things are really, really important. And then if you feel like somebody is, getting upset online because you're not engaging with them, block them, because they can make fake accounts. They can go and report you and they potentially get you taken off of line. I had somebody once upon a time got mad because I wouldn't give them a free book, and they reported my Facebook page. It was down for 2 days for a violation that they then said, no, you didn't violate anything. It was somebody doing something bad. So there's a lot of risk when it comes to growing inside of whatever industry you're on, and you just have to study and learn how to take care of yourself. But again, you talked about your kids. Protect your kids first and foremost. Like, if it comes down to it, shut down the business to protect your children. Like, that's where we're going with this. But just make sure that you back people up. If you need to block them, that's fine. If you need to be very vocal about the fact that you've got a fantastic husband that will take care of you, do that. If you have to, tell them you are somewhere that you aren't to protect yourself, that's fine. Do whatever you have to do to protect yourself. And if you have more specific questions on that, please come to me and we could talk about this privately. I could be very specific about your very specific case or conversation that we're doing. I know I was big and broad because this is one of those things I'm going to slap on the internet somewhere to help a lot of people, and there's a lot to cover within that, but I have been through pretty much most of this at this point. I have worked with, the people in charge, law enforcement and all of that. I understand all of these things. I can help you. Tell me what you need. Come find me.